Hi, Anne.
Hello.
You're a business English teacher.
I am.
What are the differences, the key differences between teaching business English and teaching general English?
I think the main thing is the expectations of the what we would call clients when they come to an English course. So I think business English clients are usually looking for. They have the idea that they're going to come away from the course better able to do their job specifically, whereas in a general English class, students are more likely to think that they're going to come away from the course having improved their English generally, which sounds like a bit of an obvious thing to say, but really I'm saying that clients have specific ideas about what they want and they relate to their job.
Okay, and let's imagine you've just done your CELTA. Okay, quite a lot of CELTA trainees say that they couldn't teach business English because they don't know anything about business. Is that true?
Well, you certainly have to be willing to and have a positive and confident attitude towards dealing with business topics. And I would say, not so much that you have to know something about business, but from the off, you have to sit down and start reading the business pages of the newspapers, looking at business websites, going to the FT website, getting involved and immersed and interested in what's going on in the world, because your clients will expect you to engage with them in a meaningful way about things that matter to them in the business world. So not that you have to know something about it now, but you have to be very willing to get involved with it.
Okay, and you mentioned before that obviously these students have very specific needs. How do you find out about those?
Well, I would say that you can't really approach a business English course or a business English place that's teaching business English without expecting that they're going to have their courses based around a needs analysis. Which means to say that you really need to talk to the students, and probably if you're working for a school or a business English centre, they'll have some kind of needs analysis process, which means you analyse the needs of the client in terms of what skills they're using. So we're thinking of things like meeting skills, using the telephone, emailing, writing reports, or negotiating, presenting, etc., etc. Those will be the things that the learners will talk about, regardless of what the content is. So they might be managers, or they might be working in oil and gas, or they might be working in and might be lawyers or whatever, but the skills will be the thing that they'll come to you saying they need to do.
Mm-hmm. So then I take it from that you design a course?
Yes, I mean that's one thing that is different about business English and general English, is that you wouldn't usually go and they'd say, well, he's mid-int, so we use Market Leader Intermediate, all the time. Although that's a good business book, there's much more adapting, supplementing, looking at using authentic materials and so on. It's unusual and probably not wise to base a business English course around a particular book.
Mm-hmm. Now, quite a lot of business classes are one-to-one. So for you, can you transfer a lot of your classroom teaching skills to a one-to-one situation, or are there other skills that you need to acquire?
I think the fundamental difference between one-to-one teaching and group teaching is that you really are going in to the one-to-one person's world and their agenda. So you're saying to so you've got to engage immediately in authentic, meaningful dialogue with them. So in terms of being interested in the person, engaging with them meaningfully, things you do in the classroom being valid, it's the same. Obviously there are things that you can't do with a one-to-one. You can't do pair work, group work, etc., etc. But I find it's a much more of an ongoingly meaningful conversation that you're having. So I would say there are different skills. There's a brilliant book called One-to-One Teaching by Peter Wilberg. The first edition was published in the 80s, but I think there's been a new edition since then. And I would say anyone going into one-to-one teaching has to read that, because it explains what's different about one-to-one teaching, and particularly things about how you engage with the learner, using, rather than correcting, reformulating what they say, things like that. It's a very different approach, and but very enjoyable if you like it, which I do.
And lastly, do you teach the present perfect when you're teaching business English? Is grammar as important?
I can't remember the last time I went into a business English class with a kind of language point in my head. I tend to find that I go into class with some topics and ideas, or some interesting material, and then language comes out of it. So in that sense, the agenda isn't a language agenda, the syllabus isn't a language syllabus, so in that way it's different, but in terms of items of language. But still, it's an English class, so you go into the class, with ready to deal with language, but less with the idea that you're going to teach present perfect or participle clauses or whatever.
Thank you very much.